I'm Lee Craigie, the Active Nation Commissioner for Scotland. I did feature in that film that you just saw, but the real star was my mum, Leslie, who is 77 years old. She was riding an Icons Isla bike, which is a range of bikes built especially for older people. They are lighter, they're easier to get on and off. Their tyres and wheels are engineered especially so that a puncture is easier to repair for those with reduced grip strength. And there's the option to retrofit electric assist for riders as mobility declines with age. But the name of this range of bikes is really important. Icons. These are bikes built for rebels, for people who came of age listening to Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix in the 60s and 70s. They're not dumbed down, they do not patronise, they empower the rider to remain physically active, or in my mum's case, take up riding for the first time in her life. However hard we try, we make judgments and assumptions about other people hundreds of times a day. This in itself is not a problem if we recognise that this is what we're doing and we don't leap to act or speak without first really asking other people what their reality is, what barriers and benefits they experience, and then really listening to their response. Let me give you another example. I graduated with a degree in outdoor education in 2000, and I worked as an outdoor instructor with Outward Bound for many years. I quickly became the member of staff who was assigned the groups of kids who displayed the most challenging behaviours, the kids that had problems. The ethos of outdoor ed at the time was to nudge these young people out of their comfort zones with support and encouragement from staff and peers, but to swim in cold water and abseil off vertical cliffs. Character building, I think is what they called it. But one day, while encouraging participants to climb a 20-metre rock face with the support of a rope held by the other members of the group, a 12-year-old boy I was working with, let's call him Adam, point blank refused to go another inch higher and demanded to come down. Now, Adam was a troublemaker, a prankster, and disrupted the group constantly with his behaviour. Now, here he was in a very vulnerable position, held in place on a rock face by all of his peers on the other end of a rope, and they're all in complete control of his destiny. All his peers are pleading and supporting and encouraging him, extolling the virtues of physical accomplishment and telling him how good he'll feel if he just pushed himself to the top of the climb. And my training and experience in facilitating these sorts of activities with kids like Adam meant I joined in with this cajoling and encouragement, certain that I knew what success looked like. But Adam was not for budging. He stood his ground and remained adamant that he be lowered to the ground. And so his peers eventually did just that. And when he reached the ground, they consoled him in an effort to mitigate any feelings of failure that they had just assumed that he would be experiencing. But it wasn't until later, in a one-to-one review of the activity that I had with Adam, he taught me the single most important lesson, not just of my career, but of my life. He told me that all of his life, other people had forced him to do things that he didn't want to do. In Adam's case, tragically, really terrible things. And that today was the first time he had ever managed to say, no, that is not what I want. Imagine we'd persevered with our conviction that day that we knew what this boy needed, instead of pausing, listening to the story below the words, below the behaviour, suspending our notions of what success looks like and forcing a conclusion based on our perception of a problem. Many people assume that because I come from a professional cycling background, my motivation as Active Nation Commissioner is to get more people cycling. But my background is in working therapeutically with some of the most underrepresented members of our society. It's fairness and an opportunity to close the inequalities gap that motivates me in this role. That's why my objectives all revolve around consultation and collaboration, because it's not until we stop and make time to listen to the voices that don't naturally get heard above the thrum of loud mainstream opinion that authentic solutions to actual and not perceived problems can be explored. My role is to work with policymakers and communities to create the conditions that allow more people to be more active more often. And it's generally understood that the most effective way to do this is by ensuring that short, everyday journeys can be completed by bike or by foot or by wheel rather than private car. This is where I've been focusing. To make the biggest impact, therefore, statistics dictate I need to focus on increasing access to equipment and infrastructure in the most built-up areas, so Edinburgh, Glasgow, Dundee, Perth, where short journeys are the most prevalent. But where does that leave rural communities, whose reliance on the private car is paramount due to the lack of public transport and safe segregated links between distant communities? I don't have the answers. I suppose the whole point is that none of us do, and that one person's solution is another person's barrier. Take drop curves for wheelchair users, making it harder for those with impaired vision to cross a road safely. And this is why we have to listen, not always something that we're very good at. The Scottish Government, though, is listening, and I can say that hand on heart as someone who's close to it but independent of it. We have some of the most progressive policies in the world, and this is reflected in our latest National Transport Strategy. But what we must now ensure is that when failures happen, and they will, NTS2 will not deliver the holy grail of social equality as we all hope and pray for. What we have to ensure now is that we listen and we learn from those failures, and we don't just biff on with our own ideas of what success looks like. I'm really hopeful, and I hope you are too.